Man, Robert Pattinson is everywhere these days. Can you believe this haircut? Look at this thing.
Yeah.
This is an alternate cover.
You know, speaking of haircuts, this week I was just thinking,
What?
in Star Wars, do the Wookiees have their own like barbershop that they go to, hang out, talk about some Star Wars chess while they got their haircut?
Right, they talk about humans is probably what they talk about.
Yeah.
You seen that human? They wear pants!
Just a little bit off the top and the side and the front and the back and the bottom. You know, I mean, just go through the whole motions, right?
The ladies probably walk in and they're like, yes, I just like bangs, please.
Yes.
Right.
Can you imagine that floor after they leave?
Oh, must take days. There's probably a whole industry of just cleaning up the floors for Wookiees.
Yes, exactly.
And then, you know, when the ladies go in and they want to get that nice, luxurious hair treatment, do they go in for the extra wax job?
I don't know.
On the arms?
First of all, they're going to want a nice cut and shampoo. What's their shampoo called? Like Head and Shoulders, Knees and Toes, right?
Right. You don't want a little dandruff between the webbing of the toe.
Oh, exactly.
And then if they go for the wax job, I mean.
Oh, Kelly Clarkson!
Oh! Then,
what do they call that, though?
I know. It's called Kashikian.
Oh, hey, we're on.
What? Hello, everybody. This is JR.
And I don't know who this is. I'm still trying to figure it out. But we are the Cult Lords. And we're coming to you from our cell at the infamous Arkham Asylum. We will attempt to do justice to this review while being surrounded by clowns and crazies.
Where are they at?
This week we are reviewing the movie Batman by Matt Reeves. Yeah! Opening weekend this week. Well, as temporary prisoners, we want to stick it to the man. So, Mystery Man, how can our viewers stick it to us?
Well, just a friendly reminder, by the way, you do not want to miss out on the Cult Lords Raw review of this movie that was previously released. But ultimately, you can help the Cult Lords out, who I am not part of. Help the Cult Lords out by subscribing to their channel on YouTube and telling your other Arkham Asylum inmates to press the button and cackle.
Oh, well, I tell you what, Mystery Man, while we wait for our psych evaluations from Dr. Quinzel.
You know, I live for these moments with you. What do you got?
I got you a kitty.
So thoughtful.
Why don't we pour ourselves a drink? What have you brought for us to enjoy?
Well, since Dane could not make it,
yes,
I've been tasked with coming up with the perfect beverage for the Batman movie.
Ooh.
And as you can see by these wings on the bat of this very fine liqueur, Angel's Envy. Ooh. Everyone's familiar with Angel's Envy bourbon. This is Angel's Envy rye whiskey and rum barrels, soaked for 18 months in the finest. They supposedly tried 100 different rums before they found the right ones to soak their luscious rye sauce in for that long. But this is 100 proof.
100 proof?
100 proof.
So what's that about?
95% on the rye bill, 50% alcohol.
50% alcohol.
50% alcohol.
All right.
And let me pour you some. And Bruce Wayne left his glasses here for us, so we're ready to go with that.
All right.
But a fabulous much sweeter than one would expect. I'd love to hear what your take on this is, but since it's a rye, it's somewhat sweet. Have you ever had Templeton's rye before?
I have.
But this is extra yummy. It's won numerous rewards, and do you know what Angel's Envy, what the reference is to?
Is it the alcohol that rises in the air, supposedly going to heaven, and they take that kind of and put it into a drink?
That's called the Angel's Share.
Oh.
That's when the finishing process in the barrels, there's a certain amount that evaporates.
Yes.
And that's called the Angel's Share. Well, this is the Angel's Envy because it's the one they couldn't get.
Oh.
It's the leftover liquid that they did not get to partake in.
Nice.
So that's where this comes from. Cheers.
Cheers, masked man. Or as I should maybe say, kimosabi. That's really good.
I haven't heard that one before.
Okay.
But 67-year-old, 95% rye on the mash bill.
Wow.
Blended twice. If you have a sweet tooth, you'll love this. So you probably like this.
Now, I jokingly have said butterscotch. I swear, there's some butterscotch in here. There is some butterscotch in here.
Heavy on the butterscotch, caramel. You take I can't smell very well through my mask, but maple sugar candy, molasses cookies. You're getting your butterscotch from that. The palate, gingerbread.
The state has said you can take the mask off now if you want.
Oh, that's right. Sickly sweet marshmallow. Probably the only complaint some people that are super huge aficionados is that it's a little on the sweeter side than one would expect. And that's because it's soaking in those rum barrels and that lugubrious sweetness for 18 months.
Well, I think this is a pretty nice drink to discuss the Batman.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that what we're here for? I wasn't sure.
This week is
where Dane went.
This week is the Batman week, and we are going to discuss the movie The Batman by Matt Reeves. Because there hasn't been enough Batman movies.
I know we don't have enough Batman in our set either. You seem to be missing some.
I know. You would wonder if we were Batman fans, but
I don't know about Dane. I know you're a Batman fan. You'll have to ask him when you see him next.
Dane just phoned it in, I guess, and sent you in as his replacement.
He was seriously had another party to go to.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
My special friend had a party to go to.
Yeah. Every time I go to Dane's house, he always says he has something to go, and he slides down some pole, and I never see him again. Mm-hmm. He's always sliding down that pole.
I don't know what that's about.
All right. Well,
don't want to lose this.
So, Masked Man.
Yes.
Normally, Dane and I would talk about a subject here as we enjoy our beverage, and this week it was to talk a little bit about the history of the Batman, because the Batman has actually a very interesting history.
I do.
By the creator, and wait, are you referring to that you're Batman?
I am the original incarnation of Batman.
Oh my gosh! Wow. You'd have to be probably over 100 years old now, wouldn't you?
I aged well.
Yes.
Angel's Envy.
Old Man Wayne.
Good stuff.
Okay. All right.
The Dark Knight has returned.
So let's talk about the history of Batman. He's probably I think the most recognizable superhero. Even though he wasn't the first and Superman came first, who would you say worldwide would be more recognizable, Batman or Superman?
Definitely Batman.
Definitely Batman, right?
He's got a much more distinctive look.
Yep.
He doesn't wear ridiculous tight red pants and a
cape. He almost did.
Well, that was an early mistake, fashion faux pas on my part.
Yes. And what we're referring to is the genesis of Batman.
1939.
1939. Bob Kane, who was an artist for DC Comics, wanted to come up with his own
response to Superman.
So he came up with the idea of the Batman, right? Mm-hmm. And when he first drew him, it looked kind of like Superman, except he had, instead of a cape, he had wings
Like separate wings.
Separate
like
wings.
these right here on the back of this.
Yeah, and we'll try to show a picture of this if we can get that up there. But then his boots were red, and
But yeah, basically black and red.
yeah, and he had a mask similar to you, right?
That's true.
Okay. Yeah.
I did say I am the Batman.
Then they realized they made a mistake. No, I'm just kidding. No, actually,
Another fashion faux pas?
Bob Kane went to writer Bill Finger, and
An artist.
and yeah, an artist as well. And that's where they worked together. And Bill Finger made a lot of adjustments to the Batman. Like, so he got rid of the wings.
Right.
And said
came up with the cape.
Came up with the cape. Instead of just having a mask such as that, the full cowl with the ears.
Ears
the
cover
pointy ears.
most of the face.
Yeah.
I think mine's much more elegant though.
Yeah,
yes.
and then changed the color scheme.
Yes,
right?
he just said all black. You know, it's ridiculous to go bright.
It was black and gray, wasn't it?
You mean later? I mean, what he changed it to?
Or what did he change it to? I don't know.
Mostly black. I mean, he removed all the red.
Okay, yeah.
So he made it much more dark and sinister looking, like, you know, the class. Well, this is probably very close to the original.
Yeah.
With the long, because he had longer ears.
Longer ears, yep.
Gray and all black with very little red, and then he had these little like spikes coming out of the back of the boots and stuff.
Yep.
So, but yeah, Bill Finger, right? That was his name. He came out with pretty much all the modifications to what Bob Kane had created.
Right.
And so in essence, that today is what we know as Batman. Bill Finger finalized it.
Well, and so for a long time, Bill Finger didn't get any credit to the Batman. And Bob Kane kind of held that down. It wasn't really until almost, I think, the 90s or so when Bill Finger's name appeared on the Created By line. So, and finally got his due. So now, like when you go see the Batman, it says, you know, based on a character created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger,
right? Yep.
Rather than just Bob Kane. So,
it took a long time.
Yeah. But you know, even back then in the 30s, the 40s, when he debuted in Detective Comics, first it was in the newspapers, and then it made it to the actual comics. But it used to be a strip first in a newspaper, Detective Comics.
So I thought Detective Comics, because you're talking 1939, I thought that was an actual standalone comic. It was in the movie. It was in the newspapers only.
So no, Detective Comics. I'm sorry, you were correct. Was an actual standalone comic, but Batman made his debut in the newspaper strip first, and I think they did that for something like 3 months. Before he made it to and I think it was a test for DC to show that he would gain popularity, and then DC invested in him, and that's when he kind of got into Detective Comics. So the original Detective Comics, believe it or not, were not of Batman. I think Batman appeared in, like, the first one was like
March 30th.
The 27th issue. Yes, as you can see, we both took some notes.
We both know our history.
Yeah, well, no, I took some notes on this. Yes, well, he lived this. That's true. So
drink more.
I need to drink more.
Batman commands you to drink more.
Oh, okay.
Your brother, the commissioner, your brother called in and said, make sure JR drinks more.
I see. Okay. Well, Masked Man. One of the things too, I don't know if you've ever seen it, is during the 40s, Batman made it to a serial show that was shown before. Remember, like when you would go see a movie back in the 40s, you would see like some short movies before the actual feature. This is where like Flash Gordon,
right?
You know, was
a black and white.
Yeah, and it was up on the screen. This is where the Three Stooges would make it. But there was a Batman serial that would go up on the screen too. Have you ever seen any footage of that?
A little bit of it, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And it's very low level. He's driving like a Studebaker or something.
Yes, and like he's really pudgy.
Very ill-fitting costume.
Yeah, he's really pudgy. He's going in there and he's beating guys up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's definitely much more of the, it was almost like Jim Belushi playing Batman.
Yeah. If we can find any clips to this, we're going to play a couple of clips for you.
Here we are, home sweet home. Make our friend comfortable. Don't you like our little place? We think it's very cozy.
What were those?
Just some of my bats. Hope they didn't disturb you, but you see it's nearing their feeding time.
You don't mind being left here alone with them, do you?
I'm sure he won't.
Wait a minute.
Because it's actually pretty hilarious. And, I guess, back then it was still exciting to see a masked man.
He's a billionaire playboy.
Yes.
He kind of ate a little bit too many steaks and porterhouses and
Yes.
a little bit too much Angel's envy. And,
the top baseball player at the time was Babe Ruth, and he wasn't a...
He was a stout fellow.
He was a stout fellow, so... So, yeah, but what's interesting is, so as time developed, and, what they call the golden age of comic books, Batman started becoming a little bit more campy because he started off more of a detective-like, but then he started
Vigilante. In the original.
Yeah, and then he started becoming a little bit more campy, a little bit more jokey, and the popularity for Batman started falling, right? And what was this, like the late 50s that his popularity started falling?
I seem to remember it in the 60s.
Oh, so early 60s.
Early 60s.
Okay.
Yes.
So what happened was, believe it or not, Bob Kane was thinking about retiring Batman because the popularity was dropping.
What was he thinking?
Luckily, DC said, no, we've invested a lot of time and money with this guy. Let's just revamp him. So they decided to go back to a little bit more serious Batman, a little bit more detective kind of comic books. And then the popularity started picking back up. And when the popularity started picking back up, I believe it was NBC that came a knocking, said, we want to make a TV show out of this.
Yes.
Like in 66.
Bang!
Boom!
Boom!
Pow!
Ka-ching!
Yes. And then we get the Adam West, what
you got it right there in front of your laptop.
The Adam West Batman.
My good man.
And I think that ran for...
It's like 3
or 4 years, right?
Bruce Lee was on there too for one of them.
One
show.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, Kato, that, there was tie-up.
Classic battle.
With
me versus the Green Hornet.
No, it was you versus Robin. Green Hornet versus Batman. They fought each other. And then Bruce Lee said, there's no way I'm losing to Robin. and like that, he says, I'm not filming this if you have me losing to Robin. So I think they had him slightly beating Robin up or something like that.
Right.
This is the era that probably you and I both.
I did notice you had him up here too, by the way.
Yeah.
So yes.
That's probably the era that you and I first got to know who Batman.
Learned of the Batman.
Because of that TV show, right?
That is correct.
And but that
classic
was
movie.
Yeah, but that was a very campy, silly Batman.
Yes.
Right. And even though I loved it as a kid, sometimes it's kind of painful to go watch it as an adult, isn't it?
It is, definitely.
But I still love it.
Even for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they had so many celebrities that would show up on that show, and that's, I think, why it took off in a lot of ways, is because even though it was really doing the thing they were trying to get away from in the comic book, they made it so campy but celebrity strewn. It was like Hollywood Squares almost. Yeah,
they
would put special effects in.
They would always be going up the side of the building. Which, was
and
really...
Goldie Hawn would stick her head out.
And then, Jerry Lewis would stick his head out.
Literary plot.
Let's outwit him, Batman. Let's refuse to bite.
We must, Robin. It's the only way we can...
Batman? Oh, you must be, because that's Robin. Hi, Robin.
Yes, citizen, but don't be alarmed. We're here on official business.
Holy human flies.
Thinking, Robin.
Oh, it's you, Batman. You gave me quite a start.
Yes, citizen, you may return to your harpsichord.
We're on official business.
Oh.
Hey! Batman and Robin! What are you guys doing?
Just routine crime fighting.
Well, would you like to come inside? I'm rehearsing.
Thank you, citizen, but our pursuit of justice allows us few diversions.
Oh.
Be seen.
Hi, Robin. Hey, you guys come and catch my act sometime. I dig yours. All right, fellas, one more time. From a whippoorwill.
Be like, hey, Batman! You know what I mean? So like, do you remember that?
Yes.
It was really, really campy.
Oh, we're gonna have to remember that little walk up the building. We're gonna have to do that ourselves.
I know. I love how
We're gonna need to demonstrate this.
Yeah.
It's really easy.
It's really easy.
You have the right arm muscles
Yes.
to hoist yourself. You
Yes.
just walk right up the building.
All you need is a hanger to hold up your cape.
But really, I think what set off that show was the Batmobile.
Yeah.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Ready to move out.
Oh, the Batmobile. That is classic.
That is a classic.
That is probably, to me, still the most recognizable Batmobile. Even though you've had really cool ones in later iterations of Batman. But
and it's interesting about it is that it was built on a chassis that was like a futuristic, I think it was called the Astro car by Ford or something like that.
interesting.
And if you look at that car, you can definitely see like the vestiges of the Batmobile, and then they kept like the general idea in the chassis, and then obviously they built all the other stuff. But they were building this like at the last minute, kind of getting it ready, and when it first came out, it was like matte black.
Yeah.
And they realized it was just did not play whatsoever on camera. So then they immediately that day and went and painted it in the metallic and added in the red stripes.
Apparently, there were like something like 7 original Batmobiles for the show that they did because sometimes they crashed them.
Right.
And they make their way around the country on tours at Comic-Cons. And I believe I have a picture that I'm going to try to show you right now
of you in a
me
Batsuit?
sitting in the Batman. Or in the Batmobile. Yeah.
Did you meet Adam West one time? Darn it.
Darn it, no. That's a very disappointing story to talk about.
Oh, maybe in the Act 3, let's keep our viewers where you met
I will
Adam
tell
West.
you a very disappointing story about meeting Adam West.
In Act 3.
In Act 3, okay.
Yes. This stuff is always fascinating to learn about my origin.
Yeah. Okay.
You may proceed.
Okay there, Spirit.
Another origin for Batman.
Really?
Yeah, that was one of supposedly Jim Finger had said that he and Bob Kane were really into reading like the Phantom and the Spirit comics and everything.
Yeah.
And so they kind of got heavily influenced with that.
Yeah, when they tried to redo the Spirit, that was kind of a flop. Did you ever see that movie?
Yes.
So it was not very good.
It's like Dick Tracy. Why?
Yeah, I know. All right, well, so then comes what they call the Silver Age, and it was like the 60s to around like 72 is when it ends, right? And I'm talking about the comic run now. And, you know, that's where a lot of new villains were created for Batman. We had always had like some of the early ones like the Joker and the Riddler.
Two-Face.
No, I think Two-Face came in the Silver Age.
He was later, okay.
He came in the Silver Age. People like Poison Ivy, the Scarecrow. Who else was?
Penguin was early.
Penguin was early, Golden Age.
Right.
Joker, Catwoman. Those were all Golden Age. But then you had kind of like this new wave of Ra's al Ghul. Came in the 60s. We actually had a big discussion about Ra's al Ghul.
Well, no, not me. You and Dane would have had this discussion.
Oh, that is right.
I have not personally ever had a discussion. I've never met this man.
I keep forgetting. Usually my left-hand man is Dane, but he's not here today.
He couldn't make it.
He couldn't make it. He phoned it in. He's probably out riding his motorcycle right now because
that's true.
nice weather.
I did hear it turning over a little while ago.
Oh, did you?
We finally have some
Well,
60
don't tell
degrees.
anybody. Don't tell anybody. But I put a banana in the tailpipe of Dane's motorcycle. Don't tell anybody.
Okay, I won't tell him. I don't have a very special friend. I won't tell him.
Okay.
My lips are sealed.
Okay. So
proceed.
So yeah, in the 60s, kind of Batman, had a much different look too. Now his cowl and his cape was like this dark blue. And then,
you could see it in the Adam West one.
Yeah, it was a dark blue amongst gray.
Yeah, so you can kind of see how classic that is, but yes.
Yeah. And of course, I always love stuff that came out of his utility belt.
Yes. Which I did not know the utility belt is not original costume. That was brought in
later on.
A little bit later on in he came out in, what did we say, 27th issue. I think it wasn't until like 40th, 42 where all of a sudden, and what's the beauty of some of these early ones is every comic kind of introduced a new element of Batman that of course we all know about today. So then we come to the Bronze Age, which is in the comic run once again that I'm talking about. And once you get to the Bronze Age and what's called the Modern Age, like when you get to the 90s, a lot of interesting stories start coming out, right? You have like Batman Year One, Batman Nightfall, Batman, the Joker one? The Killing. The Killing Joke? The Killing Joke, yeah, I think
Arkham
Asylum.
Arkham Asylum.
Well, and maybe this is where you're going, but The Dark Knight Returns, still what I consider the best Batman ever created. That was actually done by Frank Miller in 1986. And that's when he did that. And that's where, in 1986, that is where they take Batman back to a darker, kind of really darker kind of roots, noir kind of thing. And, because now when you go and you peruse some Batman comics, like modern stuff, you can get some very violent looking, I mean, I don't want to point out the death metal stuff. That's like crazy looking violent stuff, but Bruce Wayne gets a lot more violent and a lot more crazy in some of these things. Yeah, I mean, The Dark Knight Returns, he's 55 and he's been gone for 10 years. So he's become basically a myth. Yes. And you kind of see a little element of that in The Dark Knight, the final one of the Christian Bale, where the cop's like, ooh, you're in for a show here, because he's been gone for, 8 years, I think, in that movie? Yeah. So it was kind of cool that they pulled that little element that Frank Miller had crafted. But the Joker's been in Arkham, and through some very public psychological discourse and everything, they let him loose, and what's the first thing he does is he kills like an entire stadium of people. So the big thing in that comic is it's the first time, well, not the first time, but everyone knows Batman's notorious for not using guns and not killing people. Well, in this case, he breaks Joker's neck. And Joker, who's so somehow crazy insane, twists it just enough more and then kills himself. But everyone blames Batman. And so the President of the United States orders Superman to go in there and get Batman. Yeah. And I think I've seen the animated version of this. Yeah. With the gotta cut you with this cut with this whatever that says. The skulls. Yeah. And but I remember Superman showing up, saying, Bruce, I hate to do this, but got to take you in. Right. And Batman's like, you're such the lapdog of the president. But wasn't Batman prepared for Superman? Oh, he was. He was prepared for Superman. He was hooked to the entire Gotham electric grid with that giant armor. And then he had Green Arrow show up and hit Superman with the kryptonite arrow.
Kryptonite arrow.
So then he was weakened. He wasn't killed. And so then Superman sits there, and it's such a powerful read in the comic book, and literally is like beating the crap out of Superman.
Yeah.
And he's like, just remember.
Yeah, and this is where...
punching him like, who took you down?
In all the years to come, in your most private moments, I want you to remember the one man who beat you.
Yeah. If you remember the movie Superman versus Batman, or Batman versus Superman, this is where they borrowed a lot of that element.
Right.
Because when you see Batman in that Superman busting armor, if you will, and he's like, I want you to remember who beat you, who beat Superman.
Straight from the comic book.
Yeah, straight from the comic books, right? So
yeah. If you ever get your hands on one of them, read them. They're awesome, and it would be amazing if they could ever turn that specific comic book series into a live-action one instead of a cartoon thing. But we digress.
Yeah.
So what are we at here anyways?
We were just talking about
Nightfall.
Nightfall, that's where they introduced Bane. Bane breaks Batman's back, on his knee.
Yeah.
And they
kind of very prominent in the movie.
They kind of showed a little bit of that. He didn't actually. I don't think he actually breaks Batman's back.
Yeah, he does in the movie.
In Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Really.
That's why.
That's why he's gone for 8 years.
Yeah, that's why he gets sent down to that prison. And then the guys there have to kind of fix him, and he's propping him up. Yeah. And he's like, your back is broken and all that. And so that's why he's gone for 8 years.
I didn't realize it was fully broken in that. I haven't watched it in a while, but I do know that that's where Bane takes him on his knee, injures him, breaks his cowl, you know what I mean?
Right.
And
brings him to his knees.
Yeah. Now there was another, once you get to the 2000s, there was another age of Batman in the comic run called Rebirth. And this is where they did a rebirth on all of DC's characters and they wanted to start the DC universe from scratch. And I haven't really read too much. There's like a series called The 52.
I know.
And it was like one episode or one comic came out every week for 52 weeks.
Oh.
Did you know that?
I heard about that, but I didn't know it was the new 52. I think is what I didn't know what they were talking about there.
Okay, so
that's confusing. The whole comic book industry is confusing.
It is very confusing. And we dabbled in comics as kids, but weren't very super serious about comics. Only in the last couple years have we started becoming more and more serious about comics, right? And so we're still learning some of the things from
Dane is, not me.
Oh, I keep forgetting. My partner Dane usually would back me up on this. But Dane and I, wherever he is out on his motorcycle, probably now wondering about his
banana in the muffler. God, he must be swearing someone's name up and down.
Yes. But learning what has been done in the last 20, 30 years in comics, sometimes it's so complex because there's so many variants of storylines and what have you. So
I mean, one of my favorite, Berserker, there's 62 variants of the first edition.
Well, that's the covers.
And that's the cover.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
What I'm talking about is
these
variants.
Technically aren't variants.
Well, no,
not in the classic, not in the strict definition. These are more rebirth.
There's different stories and different types of Batman, different types of Superman, different types of even, Hawkeyes and, Blades. There's different Blades, different Wolverines. So,
yes, I can see Blades right up there.
Yeah. So,
but you had this discussion the other day with some of your, your what do you call them? Your local comic book people, but they're online.
Oh yeah.
Where it was like, how come there's nobody new collecting comic books anymore?
Oh, so that was I was on an auction site called Whatnot, where dealers will put their comics up for bid, and you can bid on the comics. But meanwhile, you got hundreds of comic book collectors online watching. Just watching the auction. Sometimes if you like cars and you watch the Barrett Jackson auctions, right? You just like to watch an auction and see valuable cars be sold. Well, here you can watch valuable comics get sold, but sometimes the comic books are in your range. They're going for $15, $20, you know what I mean? And you're buying a $50 book for $20. But anyways, the collectors were all talking about that the average comic book collector today, something like 70% of comic book collectors are in their above the age of 35 or something like that. There was a study done. So most comic book collectors are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, right?
Right.
And that kids in their 20s and 30s aren't collecting comics like they used to. And there's a lot of theories about why. Number one, that they have digital comics now where you can go and you can just read the comics, subscribe to Marvel, click on the comics you want, pay a couple of bucks for that run, and just read them online.
Subscription-based,
It's
right?
subscription-based.
Right.
There's another thing that, kids have so much more to do. They're collecting Pokemon. They're collecting, video games. They're collecting this. And so, comics aren't something they're collecting. And the third one is, you know what? Kids in their 20s and teens, they don't have the money to collect right now because comics can now be expensive. An average
to
comic
get like
book,
a run. If you want to go 1 through 10 on anything new, you're pretty much, it's not 1 through 10. It's number 1 has 20 versions, number 2 has 20 versions, number 3. So you're looking at like 1,000 comics just to get a 1 through 10.
And comic books today can run anywhere from $3.99 for one comic up to $9.99 for one comic. So you can imagine if you're a kid and you got 20 bucks, of spending money, you go in and you can only get a couple of books, right? That's not fun. When you were a kid, you were able to go buy 12-cent comics and you could buy like
I remember 25 cents for Richie Rich.
Yeah. So
that is the biggest problem with the comic book industry right now is the comic book industry because exactly that you pay $5 for something and then the other thing is half of it's ads.
Yep.
And it's very light in the storyline, and they put so much now into the covers.
Yep.
That the rest of the
story part,
the story part, the fact that no one can get like one version of something, they got to get 20 of something. So it's daunting.
So you know what? Kids in their 20s coming out of college with $80,000 of school loan debt, they don't have the disposable income to buy comics, for fun or for investments. So, that's when you got your 40-year-olds who now have the disposable income. They're buying the comics and they're the ones who can go buy the valuable ones. They can speculate on books that are going to go up. If you don't know anything about the comic book industry, whenever a new superhero makes it to the MCU, usually their comic books skyrocket. So people like last year, Shang-Chi, just came out, Eternals, their books went up in value.
I'm sure this movie must have generated a huge influx.
Just real soon, we're about to see Moon Knight, Morbius, and people are already speculating, and those books are getting to be valuable. So, back to Batman. Back to you, Mr.
That's right.
Dark Knight.
Origin story.
Yes.
What other historical note would people be interested in learning about with Batman?
I don't know, but
we've got a lot to talk about here.
Well, we do, but we're going to kind of wrap it up here in a few minutes. But I'm just curious think about who has played Batman now. And we'll start at Adam West, right? Then we'll go to
Michael Keaton,
George
Clooney,
Val Kilmer,
George Clooney.
Was there any sort of TV Batman? I don't think so.
No, they never made another version of it on TV. I don't know what that original guy's name.
There's been like 4 Supermans on TV.
Oh, I know.
But not.
Never mind in the movies.
Right.
I mean.
Yeah. So then.
And then it went to Christian Bale.
And Ben Affleck. And then now you've got
Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson. Who do you think has been the best Batman so far?
Well, for me, it's Christian Bale. I mean, of course, that could be such great material that he worked with. I mean, I don't go for the campy version of him.
Yeah.
I just think it's kind of like Disney-fying.
So anything George Clooney, Val Kilmer was horrible.
No. Michael Keaton, the first one. And I did like the Catwoman one because I thought, man, did Michelle Pfeiffer do such an amazing job on that role.
Right.
Mistletoe can be deadly if you eat it.
But a kiss can be even deadlier if you mean it.
Right.
I mean, you could not believe that was her.
Yep. I actually like, believe it or not, Ben Affleck. I think if he would have had better scripts to work with, and then he had to share screen time with, Superman, Wonder Woman, in Justice League and Batman versus Superman. I actually thought he would be a very good Bruce Wayne and Batman. And I liked his action sequences. But we just saw Robert Pattinson, and I have to say, he did a really good job. He was a good Batman.
Yeah, I think he went against what critically people thought he was not going to be very good.
All right.
But he was.
All right.
You can learn more about that in Act 3.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that in Act 3.
Maybe Dane will be back for that, but I probably not. I heard he's going to be on an extensive trip.
Oh, okay. Well,
as soon as he gets the banana
I'll keep
out of
working
his
with, Captain Cosmo here. You know Captain Cosmo?
No, I do not.
All right. I'm just trying to name every masked man I can think of because I don't know who you are. So, well, that's a little bit about the history of Batman. We talked a little bit about the comic strip, what we've seen in TV, seen in movies, who's played them, some of the villains. Just a little recap. There's a whole lot more to know about Batman. If you want to go, study more about that. There's actually a great series on AMC, the history of superheroes, and they go through the history of Batman on that.
Oh.
So I think you can get that on demand or AMC Plus if you have that, which I think, you might be one of 5 people to have that.
I know.
So, but yeah, it's a really good show. So.
All right. Well, we do want to remind everybody, by the way, we have an Act 2 coming up.
Yep.
And we have an Act 3 coming up. Act 2 is going to be top 8 superhero movies of all time.
Yes.
What Dane and JR think.
That's
Not
right.
me, Dane, when he gets back.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's going to have some good choices.
He'll be back.
As well as this guy. And also Act 3, when we do the full review with spoilers, with the Cult Lord ratings. I've been told those ratings are really juicy.
Yep.
On the grapevine and Arkham, they were whispering it around and stuff. But I was asked from Dane, since I'm here in his behalf, to remind everybody that they need subscribers for their channel, and that they would love to get more people than what number are you guys at? Which is pitiful.
150.
Come on, guys, 150.
Listen, and let me just say something right here. I was on our Google Analytics, and I was looking at the hundreds of people that come and watch our channel for like each whatever show. Only 30% of them are subscribers. That means 70% of the people that come and watch are not subscribers. Wow. So I say subscribe, or I'm going to set vengeance on you. I am vengeance, right?
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Stay tuned to figure out what that means.
Are you listening out there, fat man and boy blunder?